This is CBC Compass.
Coming up, we are surrounded by loud noises. Music and sports are two big ones, of course. An Island audiologist is speaking up about the importance of getting your hearing checked. He says it should be thought of in the same way as an eye exam or dental check. We'll get more details for you with Peter Benstead of PEI Audiology next on Compass. Most of us don't think twice about getting our eyes checked. Vision impairment is pretty easy to spot. Things look blurry, maybe you're squinting, or perhaps you get headaches. But what about getting your hearing checked? The signs might not be as easy to pinpoint. Peter Benstead of PEI Audiology says there's never a better time to get your hearing checked than right now. And he's here to explain why. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So why should we be getting our hearing checked regularly?
Well, it's important medical information. Hearing loss, if it's left untreated, has the potential to create a greater loss down the road. So the earlier that we can identify hearing impairment, the better the long-term outcome of a person's hearing.
And you're sort of suggesting that it should be like getting your eyes checked or going to the dentist.
Yeah, regular hearing tests are strongly recommended. Every 1 to 2 years is usually what we recommend.
If you have hearing loss, is there any way to reverse it? Is there any...
It depends on the kind of hearing loss that you have. So if the hearing loss is associated with a medical issue in the ears, like a buildup of fluid or pressure, then there are some things that doctors can do to reverse the loss.
Okay.
If the hearing loss is taking place in the part of the ear that talks to the brain, the inner ear, then it's usually not reversible in the sense that you can cure the hearing loss. However, hearing aids can make things easier to hear.
Right, we'll get into that in a moment. But what are some of the causes of hearing loss?
One of the most common causes is just natural changes to the ear. So kind of like your eyes, our hearing tends to gradually decline over the course of time. Loud noise exposure is another very common
And
cause.
we were just talking about that. Everything is get louder, it seems, these
Absolutely.
days.
It's a noisy world out there, so constant noise exposure, especially at loud volumes, has a long-term detriment to the hearing.
So headphones, I'm sure you're not a fan of those earbuds.
And as long as you keep the music quiet, so 60% of maximum volume on whatever device you're listening is usually what we recommend.
Okay. Are Islanders covered for hearing tests? Could you tell me a bit more about that?
Yep. So if you get a doctor's referral, then you can get your hearing tested at no charge. You can bill it through health services every 2 years.
Okay. And then there's the provincial audiology clinic as well. So what is the difference between that and, say, your clinic, which is a private clinic?
Yeah. So I work at PEI Audiology, which is a private clinic, and with the provincial service, it's a predominantly pediatric caseload that they take care of. If you're an adult or even over the age of 4, then they usually recommend that you go through a private service like me.
And you're covered every 2 years, is that?
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years, okay. And I'm curious about some of the new technologies. My director was saying his father-in-law just got a hearing aid, and he thinks it's pretty cool because he can connect it to a smartphone. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, hearing aids are constantly evolving, and the technology is better than it ever has been. One of the big things that they're working on these days is working on allowing your hearing aids to communicate via Bluetooth with other devices like an iPhone or an iPad or any smartphone. And that's been an incredibly popular feature.
And they're a lot more discreet than they used to be.
They are,
I mean,
absolutely.
we've got one here. We can kind of maybe show you a little bit. We'll get a better shot of that.
Yeah.
But they're pretty small, pretty discreet. And but there still seems to be a little bit of a stigma when it comes to hearing aids.
There is. People tend to be very averse to wearing devices. I think there's a perception that hearing aids are dedicated to those who are old, which is not true. So yeah, people are generally averse. But you're right, they look great, they look fantastic, and I'm not sure if you've actually noticed, but I'm actually wearing 2 hearing aids.
No,
right
I did
now.
not notice.
Yeah.
I did not notice.
It's right there in my ear.
Okay.
So as you can see, you can barely
You can
see.
barely see it.
Yeah.
And just quickly before I let you go, a few of the common signs that perhaps you should be concerned about hearing loss.
Difficulty hearing in background sound, as I'd mentioned. Oftentimes with hearing impairment, people sound like they're mumbling, so volume isn't necessarily impacted, but the clarity of sound is impacted. Turning your TV up louder, that may be something that viewers at home are experiencing right now.
Yeah.
And ringing in the ears is another very common sign of a potential change in the ears.
All right. Well, I appreciate your expertise on this tonight. Thank you.